Hello there, ladies and gents, and gritty grown-ups everywhere. It's time for another Parenity brand startup journal. This is attempt number 2 for entry number 7 for the week ending August 9th, 2024. Today is August 12th, actually. Parenity is a totally bootstrapped solopreneur brand being built from the ground up by me, your host, Robbie Bond. And at Parenity, we aim to bring serenity into the lives of exhausted parents everywhere. And this little vlog playlist is where I log some of the struggles, triumphs, and activities of the week in this startup journey. As this thing takes off, we get closer and closer to our vision of a world where parents are less exhausted, better supported, more appreciated, and live in increased serenity. Here are today's talking points for the part of the startup journey we're currently at with Parenity. It's hard to make moves on the go. Content takes a temporary backseat. It's hard to make moves with confidence. Fees everywhere. I'm sure we can all relate to that one. Let's start with it's hard to make moves on the go. And actually, before we get into that, I'll just mention why this is attempt number 2. What happened with attempt number 1 that I was trying on Friday of last week was that my phone overheated on the dashboard, and somehow I ended up with video files that were completely unusable in my editor because somehow I ended up with it at varying frame rates, and the voice wasn't syncing up with the video, and it was a nightmare. I tried to work with it. I finally decided at about 2 a.m. When I was editing that it was not worth the time. Important lesson here, don't obsess. Your time is super valuable. If you're running a business, don't fixate on something that's not working. Figure out another way. So let's try this again, and here we go. As I've mentioned in the past, I like working in a coffee shop. Something about it gets and keeps the creative juices flowing. But certain things require a mouse, keyboard, and at least one full-size monitor. I was trying to keep several balls in the air while traveling with the family last week, several weeks ago now. But even on a laptop, it's not the easiest thing. Referencing things is so much easier on multiple large screens, and there are almost always interruptions when staying with family and traveling with family. I really had to put the 80-20 rule to work on this trip and maximize that family time. I didn't prioritize getting things done while on the road because that just makes for a trip that's not fun. Well, I guess fun for everyone else, but not for me. And I really wanted to take part. So the working conditions, yes, you can have a fairly big screen on your laptop, but I really don't know how people work on phones and tablets and things like that. I find it so hard to get things done, especially when you need to reference one thing and plug it into something else like a spreadsheet or something like that. And if you can get 2 monitors going and a nice mouse and keyboard, things go so much faster, especially if you're used to working that way. It's hard to make moves on the go. Content takes a temporary back seat. With last week being a travel week for me and the fam, and the weekend being unpack and decompress time, last week, being short due to the long weekend, and a few vehicle issues that came up, I had to totally ignore content last week. As we get closer to the launch of Parenity, I can tell it's going to be very difficult to create the amount of video that I want to across the social channels going forward. But hey, we'll prioritize and make everything that is possible to happen. Speaking of social and time constraints, I had a call with Social Snowball last Wednesday, and from what I've seen so far, they're great people, helpful people. They understand what it is that they're doing and what their strengths are. And they put into focus for me on the call how much decision-making, configuration time, and program maintenance something like their influencer program is going to take. It'll all be time very well spent, but I may have to do some late nights to get every little piece in place for launch. I also got a peek at their AI influencer search plugin called Icebreaker, which looks really cool, and something I will definitely want to try after I'm done adding all the influencers to Parentity's program that I already know of, that I already know I want to be part of the program. But yeah, once I'm through those, it'll be super cool to have a cool AI tool to help me find more people who can help spread the word about Parenity. It's hard to make moves with confidence. I've described Parenity using the terms bootstrapped and solopreneur many times, and that's because it's anything but irrelevant. I've been feeling some stress lately because as I try to plan more and more things for launch, I'm butting closer and closer to maxing out my budget. I knew all along that there would be cash flow problems building Parenity, and now I'm really kind of stressing over some spending decisions. Spending that much money is it's a stressful thing, and when you have a limited budget, you really want to make sure that you're spending that small amount of money that you do have in nothing but the most correct places. And I'm sure I'll eventually have to improve this situation somehow, whether it's taking out loans or taking on partners. But to even get there, I need to make this initial launch a success without exceeding my cap, which again is modest. It's all fun, but I do worry a lot. And actually, this came up in my Twitter just recently, or X, if you like to call it that. Um, there's an account called @philosophers, and the quote that came up is from William Faulkner, who said, "You cannot swim for new horizons unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore." And that really struck me. It's very relevant at the moment, and it's true. You really have to be willing to. It basically comes down to no risk, no reward, and yeah, it's scary and difficult, but it's true. And this quote, I think, came at a good time. It's something. It's a reminder that I needed to hear. Just a reminder of what must be done. You have to pull those triggers and make things happen. You can't just worry and avoid action. Last point for this edition is fees everywhere. I'm using an agency for sourcing some of my overseas products, and they needed a deposit from me for one of my orders, and they wanted it via wire transfer. I personally don't have any experience doing wire transfers, and while I do have my business bank accounts set up and running, the ability to wire money is of course, it ends up being a separate add-on, as I found out. Does come with a price. Not a huge price, but when you're trying to avoid extra monthly costs at all costs, it's not one that you want to. It's not something you want to spend money on, especially when you have no idea how many wire transfers you're going to be doing in the near future. So my other option was to do just a single wire transfer, which I would have to take the time to go into my local bank branch to do, and it comes with a $50 fee, which is a good chunk of the amount I was spending on that deposit anyway. So I really didn't want to do that. What we ended up doing is a nice little Interac e-transfer, which is a common way of transferring money here in Canada, and it was received just fine. And so I recommend doing that. If someone's asking for a wire transfer and it's going to cost you money, see if they'll do that, because it seems to work fine internationally, as long as they set themselves up as an e-transfer recipient. Yeah, and those are my things for last week. I'll have another one coming up shortly. on Friday of this week. And thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for your interest, and we'll talk to you soon.